You play fantasy football, you want to win. Here are 6 players you need to absolutely run away from and even sell your league mates on to get them to draft these players and absolutely tank their entire team. This is great content. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already. I promise you it'll be worth your time. Number 1, Jordan Addison. We need to be running away from this guy pretty much this instant. You look at his stats from last season and you see he finishes the wide receiver 23 in his rookie year, just shy of 1,000 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns. It's pretty decent. But this is what I like to call bubble stats, and his season was in an incubator all year because Justin Jefferson was injured and he missed 7 games. And because of that, in that time that Justin Jefferson was injured, Jordan Addison saw his highest snap percentage, usage rate, target rate, all of the receiver numbers that we want to see in fantasy football. The second he came back after their bye week, all of those numbers went back down to normal, and he averaged 4.5 targets per game. Not even receptions, those are targets per game. And now, instead of Kirk Cousins leading this offense, which maybe he's not the best quarterback of all time, he had them 4th in passing attempts and 6th in passing touchdowns in the entire NFL. And now they have Sam Darnold as quarterback. And I don't think it's that crazy to say that he's not going to get anywhere near top 5, even top 10 passing efficiency numbers to keep this offense afloat. And Jordan Addison's ADP has been tanking ever since the JJ McCarthy injury that's going to put him out for the entirety of the season. Now, I don't really think JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold is that different of a quarterback as far as fantasy goes and supporting wide receivers, but now he's going as a wide receiver 40 in fantasy football drafts. And you might be looking at this saying, well, everybody's telling me the top 1, 2, 3 round players that I can't be drafting. Why does it matter if I'm getting a 10, 11, 12th round guy not on my team? It doesn't matter. Well, that's actually where you find the Pukas, the Nico Collins of last year. You don't win your leagues in the first 4 rounds. You win them in the middle to late rounds. So you want to know who to avoid to get more shots on goal at those actual upside guys that can have the chance to win you a league. Jordan Addison is not that. And just to put the icing on the cake, there is still a possibility that Jordan Addison does get suspended in the later half of the season, which would come around fantasy playoffs, which you do not want to have. But if you are enjoying this video, please go down and drop a like. It takes 2 seconds. It means a lot to me as a creator. It'll take nothing out of your day. But our second wide receiver on this list is going to be Tyler Lockett. And a similar reason to Jordan Addison. Yes, he's not being drafted super high, but this is the round where we find breakout players, and Tyler Lockett is not that. He's simply a throwaway pick. There's no other way I can say it. He's 32 years old. He's coming off his worst efficiency numbers of his entire career. Some people say that the differences in coaching staff and bringing on some new guys is going to make this offense more pass heavy. You can't even say that it's not. But even if it does, it's not going to help him because he's not even the number 2 option on his own team. You're going to have DK Metcalf as the number 1. You have JSN coming into another year experience in the NFL, and he's just quite literally a better wide receiver than Tyler Lockett is. He's one of those round 10 guys that's not necessarily going to lose you a league, but he's not going to help you win it either. And the way you need to be configuring your roster, it matters in the late rounds too, because I would way rather have you guys taking the shots on the Curtis Samuels, the Khalil Shakirs, the Aaron Rodgers, the Justin Herberts, the players that don't have an insane inherent value, but can actually way outperform their ADP, and you don't want to be stuck with a guy like Tyler Lockett in the back of your flex spots or maybe even a bench spot that you're considering starting every week just because of the name value and the draft ADP that you took him at with that capital. Instead of just having that headache, go with the high upside guy that maybe in 2 weeks he's absolutely nothing, and he might actually perform worse and have less fantasy points on the year than a Tyler Lockett would. But after those first couple weeks, you're going to know if he was a hit or a miss. Pick up a guy off the waivers because we know the waivers are the number 1 way to win fantasy football. By the way, if you guys do want to take advantage of the waiver wire in the fantasy football season, again, make sure to be subscribed because I drop videos on that. But Tyler Lockett is just a rock at the end of your bench. You don't want to have to deal with it in the season. Don't pick him up. He's not going to be a good fantasy value. But going to the running backs, everybody loves running backs and we're always scared or looking for the best one to break out in fantasy drafts. It's not going to be Aaron Jones. Leave him for your league mates. Hawk him up. Maybe make your other league mates pick him up. He's not going to be a value. I had him in last year's video as well. He is just not going to be consistent on a significantly worse offense. And another interesting stat, historically, if you look at running backs age 28 or older switching teams, they almost never outperform their ADP, let alone break out from their ADP. That is pretty much non-existent. And a lot of that comes from coaching changes, complete team changes, backfield competition, just the ability to move the ball on offenses, a whole bunch of things that can go into why running backs historically perform worse after they get traded at age 28 plus. You also have the argument of the running back prime, which kind of states that after age 27, 28, running backs really start to decline in fantasy football value. Yes, they might still be good in NFL terms, but not in fantasy, and that's kind of what I see happening here with Aaron Jones. And he will be splitting snaps with Ty Chandler in that backfield. Now, is he as high of a caliber running back as A.J. Dillon was a couple years ago? No, but this is also a different roster, a different coaching staff. He's going to be supplemented into this offense. Will it be 50-50? Probably not unless Aaron Jones deals with some kind of injury, but he's going to be enough to take some targets, take some carries, take some snaps and usage away from Aaron Jones to make it annoying. And all that sounds fine. I mean, okay, maybe I'll take the risk on Aaron Jones. There could be some light at the end of the tunnel, but he's going as a 4th round pick. That is insanely high. If he was like 6th, 7th round, maybe I'd consider it, but 4th, there is clear better options at that ADP that I would take over him. But moving into the tight ends, we need to be avoiding, guys. Again, these later rounds, you cannot be drafting these traps in fantasy football because this is where you get the value. This is where you find the breakout players. Cole Kmet is not that. Do not take Cole Kmet. Even if he's a backup option, there's way better guys out there. One good thing you can say about him is that he is pretty healthy. He manages to stay on the field all the time. He's only missed 1 game out of 4 seasons in the NFL. That's pretty good. But that's not going to save him. And you know what I'm going to say if you see this Bears offense. They just signed Keenan Allen. They got Rome Odunze over the draft. And they have DeAndre Swift. And now they already have DJ Moore. They brought in all these players to surround Caleb Williams. Cole Kmet's going to be a 4th, 5th option on his own team. And usually I'd say taking a shot at one of these tight ends or the rookie quarterbacks is usually a good idea. But we have DeAndre Swift who's going to get those check downs, those dump offs when Caleb Williams does have pressure in the pocket. And then you also have Gerald Everett who was just signed to this roster over the offseason too. So they don't even trust Cole Kmet as the number 1 in his own team. They just signed competition. And it's not like Gerald Everett is just going to be a nobody that they put on the depth chart to just put more players on the roster. He's actually going to be used. In the preseason, he's splitting snaps and usage with Cole Kmet pretty evenly, which is a very big red flag if you're going to have that. It is 100% guaranteed that they both will play snaps for this Bears offense. It's going to be scary. Again, in round 10, where he's being drafted at, go get some upside, get some players that actually have potential to be wide receiver 2s maybe, which leads me into the next tight end, which he will have some good weeks. I'm not going to lie to you about that, but he's definitely not going to be consistent and not a guy that I want to take in the 10th round and have to worry about, do I start him because I drafted him at this draft capital, or do I pick up a guy off waivers that has more potential, but the name value isn't as good? Don't take Dalton Schultz. You just don't even deal with it. Take the headache and run. Give it to your league mates. He's had a good amount of buzz ever since he finished as a tight end 3 in 2021. Then after that, he went tight end 11 and then tight end 10 last year. And that's just about where it stops. This year, he's going as the tight end 12, which isn't necessarily a terrible pick. But again, you look at the opportunity cost of where he's being drafted and just why would you draft him? We look at the first season with the Texans because he had his tight end 3 season with the Cowboys. He didn't really do much. He had average numbers, but it did not perform in fantasy football value. But now the Texans obviously go out and sign Joe Mixon. They sign Stephon Diggs. They already have Nico Collins and Tank Dell, who have proven to be very, very good wide receiver options. There is a ton of competition in this wide receiver / receiving room of tight ends, wide receivers, running backs even too. And he also split snaps with Brevin Jordan when he was healthy. So he's not even a tight end 1 like workhorse on his own team. And we all can agree that Brevin Jordan is not some top tier tight end that deserves a whole bunch of usage, but he still split it with him. And guess what? They went out and drafted Cade Stover, a former teammate of CJ Stroud, in the 4th round. That is pretty good draft capital. There's nothing pointing towards Dalton Schultz actually getting value this season. It's going to be very difficult for him to carve out even a tight end role in his own offense, let alone a target role. Back to the point I talked about earlier in the video, I'd way rather have a top tight end or stream tight ends off the waivers and not deal with this revolving door of, do I start him? He has the name value. Just don't do it. And to leave you guys with a quarterback, I want to make sure you get every position locked and loaded in these mid rounds. Do not take Dak Prescott. Yes, he's going a little bit earlier than some of the other players on this list, but he is an absolute trap. Hear me out on this one. It is a crime that he's going at the quarterback 8 this season. That's over guys like Kyler Murray and Jordan Love right now. Like, whoa, what are we doing? These are 2 guys that have proven and have some rushing upside as well. I would way rather have those guys than Dak. But let me put stats behind it so you don't think I'm just yapping and you see the Commanders jersey back there. Oh, he must be biased. I'm not. Last season, he led the NFL in touchdown rate at 6.1%. That is insanely high, way over the average of all quarterbacks ever in the NFL. It's kind of like saying Devon Achane was averaging 8 yards per carry last season. That has to go down. Like, there's just no way that it doesn't. It's too high. There's a 100% chance that Dak Prescott does not lead the NFL in pass attempts inside the 5-yard line. It's just not going to happen in back-to-back seasons. It's very unlikely. And he has 0 rushing upside at the quarterback position. If you're taking him at QB8, there has to be something that sets him apart from the other guys, and there just isn't. His passing numbers are due for regression. They're going to come down. He has to have an insane season passing to even get that QB8 value back, and he's not going to run. But that finishes this video. Let me know if there's any players I missed that you think need to be on this list. I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure to be subscribed for the waiver wire videos and the trade analyzing videos that are coming later in the season. You're not going to want to miss those. I appreciate you guys watching all the way through.